Welcome to Moringa For Life. We are coming at you with a great episode today. We're going to be talking about the nutrition and health benefits of Moringa Oleifera. This could be 10 episodes. We're going to cram a lot of information into this one episode. Mariko is you're going to go off. You got a lot to talk about. I'm probably going to have to reel you in a few times because there's just so much to speak on. You shared a study with me that was a lot of pages, 100 and something pages, based on the 92 nutrients, 46 antioxidants, over 300 illnesses that Moringa addresses in different ways. So we're going to get into that a little bit in this episode. Give us the high level, though. Nutrition. That's such a catch-all term that I don't think any of us really understand what that means. When you think about the nutrition of Moringa, what are those high-level things you want to make sure people understand before you get into the 92 nutrients, the 46 antioxidants, and all of the density that is the nutrition of Moringa?
Well, what's amazing about Moringa compared to any other food is that it has more nutrition. I always say the most nutritious plant on earth. But what that really means is compared to other foods that have any, nutrition, they have vitamins, minerals, amino acids, antioxidants, all of those kinds of things that we are hearing. Those are all like trendy kind of buzzwords now, superfoods.
Sure.
But what it actually means is when you break it down, you look at the science, and that's what's happening now. A lot of science to prove things that traditional people, they knew. They carried this. If you think about it, in the early days when people were traveling from place to place, they were carrying with them the most essential things. And what they carried was Moringa in a lot of places. So Moringa migrated from some place in the Himalayas, is where they track it to, and it moved to a lot of different places around the world. Well, it moved by foot, right? And so that's how they were really valuing this plant. Because traditional people, if they didn't have the most nutritious plants with them when they were traveling and moving from place to place, and they weren't bringing them with them, they wouldn't survive. So we know that just the survival of those ancient people was dependent on these kinds of foods, and Moringa was a key part of that during that time. And now we don't have that kind of issue. People, travel freely and we fly everywhere. So now we have worldwide foods, like foods from all over the world are all over the world right now.
Right.
And tomorrow, if you ordered this or that, you could get it, right? So it's a different backdrop to the world of nutrition. And because of that, people are getting confused. They're getting overloaded with information. Some things are contradictory information. Some people, are saying, Moringa cures everything, and this is troublesome to me, because we really need to stay in our lane. There is a lane for Moringa, even though it does a lot of different things and it benefits many things. There's still a lane, and until science is proving these things, we need to stay within that parameter and give people that specific information. When I started, I'm looking at PubMed, and they publish medical journal research. NIH in our country and other countries, they have similar kinds of organizations. And when I started, there were 9 studies. And mostly there were some liver studies, there were some on water clarification with the seed. And now there's more than, 2,000 different.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, and growing every day. You can't keep up on the science of it. And so that's where we're now proving scientifically what traditional people always knew. This is a food that is essential for people's survival. And in some areas of the world, it still is. People are using this for their survival, and some people are using it to supplement. Some people are using it for some of those illnesses. And so that's why it's important to get really correct information and the amounts that people are taking. Some people, they can just sprinkle a little bit on their salad or something, and that's enough, because some of the visuals are a little bit deceptive in a way. I mean, not meaningfully. They just like didn't think really clearly about it. But the feedback when I've spoken to people over the years and they've seen that, and I use it too. I show that because I want people to see this is the visual, and you need to create discernment and look because
All
there's
right, let's hold on because people don't understand the visuals we're talking about. So what we're talking about is the nutrient vitamin pack that is Moringa, right? And so when you think about some of the ingredients that are richest in certain vitamins and minerals, we think of oranges and vitamin C, we think of calcium in milk, we think of potassium in bananas, iron and spinach. These are things we've been kind of taught. And so the fact that Moringa, and we're going to talk about this very specifically with very specific math, because I know that's important to you, has more of those nutrients than those items I just mentioned, which most of us think of as the most richly packed with those vitamins and minerals. And so that's what we're really getting to, is being able to give you exactly how much of these vitamins and nutrients you're getting with the amount of Moringa that you're actually consuming, right? And that number is going to be 100 grams. So you're going to hear 100 grams quite a few times in this, because that's kind of the clean math to then allow you to understand what amount of Moringa you are in fact getting. And you had a good picture here. I'm going to show people. This is 100 grams of Moringa leaf, right? So quite a few stalks you can see there. You got the scale there, and that is a heaping pile of Moringa. It almost reminds me of if you've ever cooked spinach, you have a whole bag full of spinach and it turns into like 4 tablespoons. That is a big pile of Moringa, but if you were to powder that, it's going to turn into significantly less Moringa, but it's still a significant amount that you need to consume to then hit the numbers that we're going to be talking about. So we'll make sure everyone kind of understands, set the tone, set the understanding of, we're going to try to give you very clear numbers. We're also going to share with you this kind of aggregate of studies that Amchara put together. We'll have that in the comments. That's the study that I mentioned. It's actually, 20 something studies that have been pulled together that Amchara kind of basically listed out everything that was the cumulative finding of a multitude of studies. So that's kind of the background of what we're looking at, what really sparked our interest in having this specific conversation. We're going to give you some kind of real world information, some real world context, and the ways that you can apply this in your daily life. If you want to get deeper into the science, check out the Amchara study, and you can go down all those rabbit holes. If you want to really see this kind of almost webinar style where we can go into the application of this, we'll also have a link to the ambassador program, which is one of your mainstay training programs. No, it's already out. So you've already announced that you're going to be doing one in Sri Lanka as you traveled from Sri Lanka to Malaysia and India in the next couple months, which is really exciting. So that's a little Easter egg for everyone. We'll also have a link to the brand ambassador. And if you happen to be in Sri Lanka in April, join Moringa For Life as another international world tour commences. All right, tangent. Let's get back to this. We're going to be talking about superfoods. We're going to be talking about vitamin B. We're going to be talking about antioxidants. We're going to be talking about some of those vitamin C's and, again, the potassium, calcium, some of those nutrients that we hear all the time that we need more of, we don't have enough of. We're taking our B12 vitamin shot. We're taking our daily supplements. And that's what we're going to get into, because we want to make sure that this is congruent with your life, that it fits into your lifestyle, and to make sure it addresses the specific health needs that you might have. We're also going to talk about a couple of the more prevalent illnesses, diseases, chronic aches and pains that we may have that Moringa is addressing. Let's start superfood. Should we start at superfood? Should we start at antioxidant? Where do we start?
Well, I want to start with nutrition and vitamin levels because, like what you said, that you showed that 100 grams of edible portion. All evaluation of foods that are given a value for protein, calcium, all of that is done with that same 100 grams of edible portion, so that you're not eating the rind of the orange. You're eating 100 grams of the edible portion, right? And so that's one aspect of it. The other is they don't take into consideration how those foods were grown, and that's big area for us because one of my things I say, if it's not in the soil, it's not in the food. It's not in your moringa.
If it is
So
in the soil, it's in your food.
if it is, and your foods are processed correctly, right? So there's a lot of elements in there that we're not going to go into at this time, but you can't just assume that, and a lot of people do. If you have this one apple and it says in those calculations it has this much vitamin, mineral, amino acid, it doesn't take into consideration how that was grown and that if it truly has that particular apple, because it can vary from farm
Because
to farm.
that soil can be devoid of certain of those minerals and nutrients. And an apple, for example, or an orange would maximize the uptake of that because that's its food source, which feeds it, which then is the byproduct of us getting access to that through eating, consuming that fruit, that apple, that vegetable, that herb, whatever it might be. But if it's not in the soil, it's never getting in there to the degree that then would be the tested model for the volume of nutrients assigned to a given ingredient.
Yeah.
Okay. So that makes sense to me. It makes it really daunting. Like now I have no idea if I'm getting any vitamin C when I'm drinking my orange juice. So thanks for that. But I understand now. At least we understand that we need to calibrate and we need to have a realistic expectation. We need to question the preconceived notions of how much benefit I am in fact getting from anything that I consume. Doesn't mean you aren't getting any benefit from consuming any of the elements that you currently are from a healthy food standpoint in the kind of the mindset, the cultural mindset that we have in this country. But we need to do better. I think we all know we need to do better. Our food is becoming more and more plastic. Our food is becoming less and less nutrient dense. More of the things that we're eating are processed. So I think anybody who's watching and listening to this, if you're on that path of thinking about diet and food as part of what heals and grows and nurtures your body, your family, then you're already curious about those things. So this is one other piece of information that'll give you access to better opportunity of choices for making those health decisions. Okay. So we understand kind of the layout of that. So where do we go from here?
Yeah, let me add, the consumer is the one who drives this. That's why I always bring it up in these kinds of situations, because when the consumer starts to question how their food was grown, that's what pushes. When they wanted perfect looking food, that's what pushed the system we have now. So consumers need to be the ones to be asking the questions and moving this whole movement forward, so that we can have that conversation and have that.
You vote with those dollars, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's how we vote. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So take us into some of this. Do we want to go superfoods? Do we want to go antioxidants? Do we want to break down some of the 100 gram comparisons? Where we like to go next?
Yeah, let's stay with the Amchara because they accumulated a lot of things, and they show 92 nutrients, 46 antioxidants, 71 antimicrobial, 36 anti-inflammatories, 18 amino acids, and the 19 essential amino acids you have to get from food. These are all things that Moringa has. So that's just the numbers is the packs it in. I don't know of another food that has all 9 essential amino acids, because those 9 essential ones means we have to get it from food. So right there, if you only knew that piece, that can be enough. But because it has all these others, and you'll see on that, it lists all the different issues, and you just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, right? And then you can go into those research studies and look at what's backing up those figures. So then you try to look for any other food that has that list. You won't find it, right?
Won't find it. All right. So Moringa itself, though, let's get people some specifics on this. You had a couple different 100 gram breakdowns, but one of the ones that jumped out at me was just comparing 100 grams of Moringa and kale to each other, right? Kale coming out as a superfood, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But what are those comparisons? If you don't have the numbers in front of you, I can read them. You got them?
Yeah. So B vitamins, which you mentioned before, why those are so important is that B vitamins helps release the energy from the food you're eating. So from the
Right.
protein, carbohydrates, fats. And then it breaks it down into amino acids and it moves that energy through your body. So if you don't have those B vitamins, you could be eating, whatever you're eating. And if you're lacking that, that is not getting broken down and moved into your body. So that's a really
B
essential.
vitamins are in fact important. That's not just hype.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
they're important. And so we're just going to compare to kale, because a lot of people now recognize that kale has so many B vitamins. It's a superfood, has high antioxidants, right? That's a common food. Moringa has 4 times more B6 than kale, 5 times more riboflavin, 2.5 times more thiamine, 2 times more niacin. So just on the most common food that you recognize, Moringa has more by far.
That's significant.
The thing you don't see, and this is troublesome, because when you see all these foods, right, this is like you can make a smoothie, and this is the practical way to take that information and put it into your life. Now you have 2 superfoods together, so that's going to pack a big, impact for you to take, to be adding it like this. So
yeah, like 10 years ago, you wouldn't have seen people eating kind of like chunky green smoothie esque beverages, but this is commonplace now. So we've already found a way to bring something like kale into our diet, and this is just a clear extension of that to make sure that you have all of those nutrients that you're looking for, that you're maximizing that. And we've talked about before the bitterness. We don't do a lot of bitter foods in the United States. We're so salty and sweet. Kale is one of those ingredients that broke through that just a little bit, because it does have that bitterness to it. And the fact that that's kind of been adopted a little bit more mainstream is hopeful, because we've talked about how moringa can be intensely bitter as well. And so the fact that it can, from a culinary flavor profile standpoint, really meld well together, again, the chef in me really likes that about it. So definitely be thinking about any applications they have for kale. This is a good piggyback, a really simple application of a place you may already be with a raw salad or sauteed or in a stir fry, anything like that. Kale and moringa, they're simpatico.
Yeah. And kale is also something that people have, of course, overdone, especially women who are
It's on every damn menu everywhere you look. And
so juicing kale and making it this concentrate can also be troublesome for women. It changes some hormone balance. So there's some concern there, just to not be overdoing. We say superfoods, but that means you can eat less of it to get those nutrients. You don't then eat the same amount of something that has nearly no nutrition with something that has high nutrition. And so you have to use.
So if 50 grams, 100 grams, 200 grams is the right amount for your body type, all those different things, it's not like, well, what if I do 1,000 grams of it? Will I get 5 times as much benefit? That's not going to be the case. You still want and need a healthy, balanced diet. You don't want to be you don't want to be overwhelming your system. Is a 1,000 grams of kale as bad for you as 1,000 grams of fast food? No, but it's still going to have a disruptive impact on your tummy. there's no doubt about that. Okay, so that's pretty significant. And then there's another you mentioned, I've seen several of these kind of throughout our time where it talks about some of these 4 times as much vitamin A of carrots, 7 times as much vitamin C of oranges, 4 times calcium of milk, 3 times the potassium of bananas, and on, yogurt, almonds, a lot of these that we expect to be some of the highest in. This also breaks down fresh leaves versus dry leaves. So that's good to see. Kind of, again, I mentioned how much fresh leaf that was and how much that's going to break down when you go into the powder and the leaves. So this is good too, to see what the conversion rates are. But these are, again, significant numbers. These numbers aren't in a vacuum. So again, you need to think about them from a healthy and balanced perspective. But this gives us an insight into, okay, if I'm consuming a lot of oranges for vitamin C, I could be incorporating moringa very easily and know that I'm getting all the 9 amino acids and all these other benefits, and kind of that one-stop shop of
if you
moringa.
look at that visual, vitamin C is very volatile. So you see that it has vitamin C in the fresh form, but when you go look at the dried, it has half. It disappears in the drying process, in the processing of it. So
where others stayed stable in their amounts, the vitamin C had a significant drop off. So even the processing of the drying has an impact on it. So again, don't just look at these numbers in a vacuum and say, well, if I have this much fresh leaf, all I need to do is take 3 capsules or make a small amount of tea. I have the same amount of vitamin C. That's not the case because of that drying process. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too. Again, just awareness for everybody. Just have awareness with, you know, the pluses and minuses that you're putting into your body.
And dwelling on the minutia, like some people really get into the weeds where they just want to know exactly if I take a quarter teaspoon of, you know, how much vitamin, you know, A is there. And when you are in that kind of a space, you are right away creating a stress level. You know, and that's another part of all of this. Because we have so much information about nutrition and people are concerned about it, it becomes a stress to how is this enough, or now I have to worry enough to think about how it's grown and processed and all this. And one of the things that moringa is also shown to do is it calms the central nervous system.
So don't worry about how much you're having. Start having it and then build it into your routine, and then you can backtrack some of the math a little bit more cleanly, right?
Yeah.
Start the process. Yeah.
Easy.
I feel that sometimes the things that you know you need to do that are going to be so good to you are so complex and cumbersome that they become a non-starter, which is worse than not starting. Start. Always start.
Yeah. Take a step. You know, I say sometimes to people, take a step, the bridge will be there. And instead of taking a step, some people just like, they got to get all that, fill up all that information. And some of that is because they've been doing that and they've been having a lot of challenges. And so it makes them even more vulnerable to that.
They're leery. They're not trusting of, to your point, some of the science. I mentioned this to you as a joke. It's kind of real. I saw a video where somebody was like, all right, let me eat eggs because I hear eggs are really healthy. And then as they're about to eat, a video pops up next to them of someone being like, eggs can basically ruin your life. And then it's the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. All these foods we've been told that are really good for us. There's some other expert out there telling us that basically it's the worst food, the worst thing you could ever put in your body. So it's really hard to cut through all that white noise.
Yeah. And one of the issues is also when scientists are testing these, is there a baseline there? Like they have to start with the same food level, like grown with they have to have that tested to see, are we starting at the same starting point? Because that's what's missing. That's why you come up with conflicting science, because one scientist got it from this source and it was poor quality. And another scientist got it from that source and it was very good quality. And so now there's two conflicts.
Yeah. I know haven't seen some of the Moringa For Life work with soil testing and the product testing. Maybe the most concerning and just most eye-opening was the amount of heavy metals found in a lot of that testing. Yeah. Right. So in my mind, I was like, okay, they don't have good enough soil. That more likely means it just doesn't have as much nutrients. I wasn't considering the fact that it could be detrimental, right? I just thought it was not as positive, not thinking that it can be actually pretty significantly in the red when it comes to some of those things that you're consuming heavy metals. So when you started doing the testing of both soil and of finished product of grown moringa, that was pretty eye-opening. And I saw the shift too towards thinking about the soil maybe more than ever. Before it was about the moringa. Now it's maybe more about the soil. I feel like we spend more time talking about the soil than anything else, because otherwise it doesn't matter what you're putting in that ground. It's fighting against heavy metals.
Yeah. And I was, when I first started to work with moringa, I thought, oh, moringa is the work. And then I learned about Dr. Ingham's work with soil biology and all. And I said to her one day, Elaine, your work is the work. Because without that, it doesn't matter what you put in the ground. If the soil isn't right, it's contaminated, it's not there. The next step is that processing element.
Give people 30 seconds. Dr. Ingham. Who's that? Where are they?
Soil Food Web. She's a pioneer in this. She's our foremost soil scientist um, in the United States and around the world now. People study with her. I've studied with her. Some of my students have studied with her. In fact, with the in Sri Lanka, that's one of the focuses that we'll have. Dama, who's hosting it there, our student, she's done Dr. Ingham's work. So we encourage that, and there's a lot of free webinars. Soilfoodweb.com is her website. You can put that link.
Soilfoodweb.com.
You can learn a lot about it, and then you start to get your own baseline of why this is important. And there's case studies there, and so we teach the microscopy, and that's what we did in Japan as well. We introduced this concept because we almost have to become our own scientists. It's like that's why I got the microscope for your boys, because let's start them young, looking and saying and understanding the life in the soil, and once they do, you understand that there's living entities there, and we have to care for those and nurture that in order for the whole planet. That's what feeds every living thing on Earth is fed by that. Every living thing.
I think that's why when you're doing the micro courses, shameless plug, shout out micro courses, the backyard growers was kind of the first one that was developed. And so anybody is an avid gardener, backyard grower, or thinking about it, or has that empty space, like, I really wish I could grow some food, definitely go check out moringaforlife.com and check out the courses. And backyard growers was a really great one, because that's kind of where it starts, right? Growing a small amount of food for yourself, for your family, for your neighbors, thinking about the soil, interacting within a certain way, getting that not only health benefit, but feeling that food that you grew, and the taste, like, it just tastes better, right? It tastes different when you're growing and when you're taking care of that soil than some of the, commodity grown in far reaches of the world coming to us, gas ripened, XYZ process, sprayed with this and all of that. It has a different impact. And you start growing a little bit of food, you can really taste and feel the difference.
Yeah, and that's why chefs have started to become farmers, because they recognize
what a difference.
Yeah, they recognize that the flavor comes from the soil. You got to focus on the way it's grown, processed. You got to have your hand on that if you really want to have the flavor, because the flavor comes from that. And what you're tasting is the nutrition. Nutrition tastes good to us. Otherwise, we wouldn't eat.
Say that again. Nutrition tastes good for us, even though we've been told differently, because we don't like to eat our vegetables. We don't like to eat the healthy things. In fact, 90% of the time, more vitamins and nutrients and the deeper, richer color of food is the visual symbol for the fact that it is uptaken a significant amount of healthy elements. Makes a lot of sense. You see a real pale carrot, or you see a vibrant orange carrot, that vibrant orange carrot is going to taste better.
And the tomatoes, I mean, that's the thing that's the most discouraging for people. They go and they cannot find a good tomato in the store anymore. They're perfect.
Can I tell you something that is I don't know. I'm putting myself out there as a chef. I, as a chef, don't modify dishes. If you created a dish like this, I'm going to trust you, and I'm going to order it the way you order it. But even at decent sandwich places now, I'll ask for no tomato. I just can't do the crunchy cardboardy water that has no texture and no taste to it. And it guts me, because I like tomatoes. It's not because I'm not getting tomatoes because I'm allergic to them, not getting tomatoes because I don't like them. Generally speaking, I like tomatoes. I just don't like what we're calling tomatoes so often now. Yeah. So I'll get no tomatoes sometimes. And again, as a chef, I feel a little bit guilty, right? A little bit like I'm betraying a brotherhood or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, the tomatoes suck. They just suck. So I completely understand what you're talking about. And yeah, chefs are going to be a big mover for us recognizing that there's a whole nother layer of flavor possibility when it comes to better ingredients.
Yeah.
All right, we got a lot still to go into. Antioxidants. What the hell is an antioxidant? I hear that all the time. I don't know what that means. I just know that I'm supposed to have them and they're good for me, maybe.
Yeah, it's just really at the molecule level.
Oh,
And
molecules. Okay, way over my head now. But give it to us in where I can understand it. What is an antioxidant?
well, and what you have to remember too, when we talk about vitamins, you're not taking, when you eat something, you eat kale, let's say. That kale is not staying in that form and making it its way into your cells so that your body, it's broken down and moved and changed and changed, and it's actually changed into an energy form that is really actually a vibration. So that that's how we take all of these foods in. So kind of getting your head around that everything is a molecular structure, that's how it moves in the body. And we know, some people have, really put a lot of information out there about free radicals and the challenges of having too many free radicals.
Right.
What an antioxidant is a molecule that donates, it donates a molecule uh, to a free radical to stabilize.
So I read that and I was like, what does donate mean? Like it's doing a toy drive and it's giving. I read that a substance that removes potentially damaging oxidizing agents. Molecules donate an electron to a free radical to stabilize it. Whew. We want that. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
We need that.
And that happens
Crucial.
a billion trillion times all day long in your body for you to be alive, right? Because free radicals come from pollution and every sort of pollution which we have in our system, from different kinds of foods. All of that is happening in your system all the time. And so that's why we would, the high amount of antioxidants is really important, because that oxidizing effect is what's going on, right? And everything is breaking down, everything oxidizes. That is the natural process in the entire world. Otherwise, everything that ever lived would still be here in some form, right? It has to break down, as go back into soil, becoming soil again. Here we are. Whatever is above ground, living, eventually becomes soil. So if that above ground isn't healthy, when it gets into the soil, there's a lot of work that all that life in the soil have to do to convert that into healthy living soil again.
I'm gonna show everyone this little
yeah,
infographic that makes me feel like I'm back in chemistry class, but it makes me feel like there's some real science happening here when I see a green antioxidant nucleus there with whatever kind of peptides or other terms that I don't understand circling it, and there it goes. It's taking one of those little blue balls and giving it over to the red ball to make sure that it's properly donating the electrons. And I kid, I jest about it, because this is part of it. Is it's really hard to understand this stuff. So much of it is really, really dense. At the end of the day, though, eat and consume moringa. The end. Show over. All the shows we ever do, all the classes we ever do, the end. Grow moringa, eat moringa.
Grow moringa in the right soil that you're connecting to.
No. Don't even worry about that. Grow moringa, eat moringa. That's day one. Now let's reverse engineer the exact amounts, know exactly what 100 grams and those comparisons are, know exactly what's going into your soil, and do that. We have to help people start. Grow moringa, eat moringa.
Yep.
Once you're on that path, you will be committed and you will figure all those other things out, and we will be there to help you. Yeah. That's all this show was ever going to be about. Everything else is just allowing Mariko to geek out because she loves this stuff. I mean, this would be a 3-hour webinar if I would let her. We have to make this really simple for people. Grow moringa, eat moringa. The end. It will change your life more than just the growing and eating of it. You'll start to talk and speak in a different way about the way you think about growing food, or the way you think about cooking food, the way you think about eating, the way you think about sharing health advice tips with your friends and family. Say, I've been on this great diet over here. Well, you're on that diet because it's trendy. Or are you on moringa because you see the actual benefits of it? And not just for you, for the ecology of your local ecosystem, for the planet as a whole, for the tributaries and lakes and dams in your state. It will have an impact on everything. On the economies of underserved communities and farmers and indigenous peoples. Like, it's changing the world.
And that's what's
She's been
happening.
pounding this in my head for 25 years. I've been fighting it for most of the time. Now I'm just going to tell you. She was right. Eat moringa, grow moringa.
Yeah.
The end. Okay, so antioxidants are more important than just their function of making sure that those foods are broken down through your body. Also, the fact that there's all of these additional oxidizing elements in our environments means that they are supporting, kind of fighting off, basically, some of those things that are in our environments now that are significantly detrimental to us, right? So they have kind of a dual function, the basics of breaking those down, but also fending off during a very volatile process as nutrients are breaking down in your body is a time when your body is absorbing things. It's absorbing everything that you're putting into that body, right? We need something to make sure that the good stays in and the bad is expelled out. And so that's, for me, when I think about this process, that's what's happening there. So more important than ever. It's not, an antioxidant isn't another layer of vitamins and nutrients. You're like, wow, like a superfood is, the way that you think about superfoods. What antioxidants are doing is they're actually fighting off and making sure that more good is being absorbed than bad.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yep.
Okay. I knew I'd get there. It took me long enough. I knew I'd get there. Superfoods. That's a super trendy hot list. The top 10 superfoods. And, you know, I feel like a lot of lobbying also goes into who makes the list, you know, on those. But let's mention a couple superfoods. So give us kind of what are our threshold to make something a quote unquote superfood? I want to know that. Some of the examples of some that you maybe like or you think are overhyped potentially. And then let's talk about some of the applications of it. I always like to, you know, get in my culinary headspace, and I'm interested in how we incorporate moringa alongside other superfoods, because a lot of people potentially have adopted superfoods into their diets. So I love the piggybacking. Let's not completely change your diet. Let's start with augmenting your diet by the addition of moringa. So superfoods, break it down.
Yeah, so superfood is rich in antioxidants,
Hey, there we go.
vitamins, minerals, fiber, flavonoids, and fats. So
And fats.
yes, fats, healthy
We're not
fats.
scared of fats anymore, right?
Right, healthy fats. So those, you know, so there's some superfoods that are going to focus on, you know, certain parts of those, certain ones of those, and some on others. So not everything is going to have all of those. But as you see on the list that we've already gone through, moringa has so much of all of those already. So it's in a category by itself. But what you won't see,
can we just crown moringa the #1 superfood, and then let everyone in the comments come after us if they're part of the blueberry lobby or the anything else?
if they can prove to me they have found something, I will follow them.
Okay.
You know, because that's what I originally started with. What's the most nutritious plant I can grow? So I can grow one thing that benefits all these, you know, right? So simplifies life. So yeah, it is. I feel though, unless somebody proves me otherwise, the #1 superfood because of everything we spoke about so far.
We are challenging anybody out there. Tell us, break it down for us, other superfoods.
Yeah.
We won't be mad about it. We'll be excited to know that we need to incorporate other foods, other elements into the conversation when we talk about moringa being at that very, very top tier. So we're excited about that kind of challenge. And so let's talk about a couple of examples. What are some of the ones that I don't know you like the most? What are a couple that you're like, you can skip those?
Well, before I say that, I want to point out that when you look for these lists, moringa isn't on any of those lists.
None of them.
That's
why I'm trying to pick a fight here.
Yeah, and it should be, right? And eventually it will be. But then there's, you know, but I don't know how long that will take. But whenever you go out and you're going to look for superfood lists, your antioxidant lists, you know, whatever, you won't find moringa in that list. Just like when I was first started out, I couldn't find it listed anywhere. You can find information about it. Now you can. That's been in the last 10 years. So why is it? I still have never found the answer to that. Why is it that moringa hasn't been prevalent in all of these cultures, in all of our foods all along. So having said that, the foods that you will see are the things like, leafy greens like kale, but all the leafy greens, right? Avocados, berries. Most of the people know blueberries, cinnamon, things like cinnamon,
That's
garlic,
right.
ginger, right? And all different kinds of mushrooms, all the different Chinese mushrooms. I mean, so there's these superfoods that you can put together, and that's why having a smoothie, and that's a smoothie where you're keeping the whole part of the food. You're not juicing it and taking parts out, and you're eating the whole food, and you're combining these superfoods. That way, you
Yeah,
are
that's the thing.
your big combination of foods together that are superfoods, and also small amounts regularly. Some people like jam their system once a week, think that's going to work, but your body is taking this food in every day, small amounts, over time. It's healing your body over time. If you think about how somebody gets sick with some, long-term disease, it started a day at a time in that direction. It didn't, normally doesn't come suddenly, like you're exposed to something, but it happens a little bit at a time when the immune system is dropped, and we can no longer fight that, and we can't fight the free radicals. So it's important to just use common sense and not to add all of this now and have these foods regularly. And that's what happens with moringa. When people are using it regularly, they experience all those health benefits, and it comes for everybody a little different. We're not going to really go over what an adaptogen is, but that's for maybe a future time. But just very basically, an adaptogen is something that gives a non-specific effect in your body, which deals with stress, right?
Yeah.
And it also adapts to you. And when you combine adaptogens, they amplify each other's effects.
Yeah,
So
I'll give people a real world context right in our own home. Every day I take 3 capsules, 3 of the Moringa For Life capsules in the morning. That's kind of part of my routine, my regular routine. When I'm sick, a little bit more, right? And so for me, in our house we have 2 teams. There's Team Intense and Team Chill, and half of our family is in Team Intense and the other half is in Team Chill, right? I am in Team Intense. I don't do coffee, or I don't do energy drinks. I don't do caffeine really. And Moringa for Betsy, who very much does do coffee and a lot of those things, it gives her a boost of energy. And for me, it mellows me out.
yeah,
Like the complete and exact opposite. We're like, that's fake news. That can't be real, right? That doesn't make any sense. It absolutely does.
yeah.
It
So
absolutely 100% does.
some people
And I know, because anything that guy gives you that kind of forced acceleration of energy, it makes my skin crawl. I can't do any of it, any of the pills that'll give you a little zip, any of that. And so if Moringa was doing that for me, I wouldn't be on Moringa.
yeah,
But it does. It just kind of more like mellows me out
yeah,
a little bit,
yeah,
and it gives her a nice little kind of like pep me up
yeah.
zip type thing. So
That's such a good
adaptogen,
example. That's a
it's
living
for
example.
real.
Yeah, every day it helps some people. Some people take it for energy. Some people take it for sleep. I mean, like that's how extreme it can be. And some people take
Wow.
it
I
for
haven't done sleep. I don't take it at night because it doesn't bring me down. It just keeps me kind of
yeah,
just like level and feeling good and feeling kind of clean. I have this especially like my lungs. I feel like I breathe just a little greener. I don't know what it is, but I haven't tried it for sleep. I'll maybe test that out.
yeah. So yeah, so it's different. Yeah, so that's exactly a good example. It adapts to you. It also helps you adapt. People, so that's the non-specific effect in the body. It helps you adapt to situations, so people are less vulnerable and things like that. So, and it's long-term use. It's regular long-term use.
Mm-hmm.
That's where and pretty soon your body, of course, your cell structures it's made out of moringa. and Moringa is working through you. It starts to talk to you. It starts to influence
Your aura just turns that deep moringa green all of a sudden. So, and on the superfoods, quite a few that you listed are pretty regular in our diet. Blueberries is one that kind of we always have. We really like blueberries. Smoothies end up being a thing. Moringa is great into the smoothie. I think the intensity of the blueberry again kind of mellows out some of that earthiness and some of the bitterness that the moringa can have. Kale for sure. It's a great piggyback for kale. Garlic, lots and lots of garlic, and not as much as you. I'm not quite fending off vampires, but it goes really well with garlic. So those are just, I always want everyone to have these simple, clean applications, right? If you're doing something heavy garlic, if you have a garlic vinaigrette, a garlic lemon vinaigrette, love in that. And you're going to bring out that superfoods. Lemon, one of the best superfoods there is. Blueberries, peanut butter and banana for like a shake, protein shake type thing. Peanut butter, banana, moringa. So those are a couple of the applications where I'm thinking about superfoods and I'm thinking about moringa and incorporating them. So those are some. And again, if you have some great ways you're incorporating moringa, specifically around superfoods, specifically around antioxidants, or anything at all, get on those social medias, hashtag Moringa Food and tag Moringa For Life. We want to see, we want to learn from you. We want to maybe collaborate on some recipes. I don't know. We need more moringa food out there in the interwebs.
Yeah. And that's really an important little segue for you on your recipe for pesto. Why I focused on that one pesto recipe with basil, garlic, walnuts, right? And olive oil. So that's a healthy fat. Garlic is
and good Parmesan. I'm seeing more and more good things about those kind of hard, unprocessed cheeses.
You can add Reggiano Parmesan, but basil is an adaptogen. So now you have two adaptogens.
I don't remember that.
Two adaptogens amplifying each other's effect. You have garlic, also your superfood. Walnuts, good for brain. You know, the good fat. So everything in that, and then you can add your other things. And you can add other things. Cilantro is a superfood. You know, if you look into the in cilantro,
even 20 years ago, we were already right on track with superfoods before they were superfoods, huh? Pesto is jam-packed with superfoods, antioxidants, and adaptogens. Look at us go. Okay, last little thing. We're long on time. Appreciate everybody for staying tuned in with us. Really important again. If you want to go down some further rabbit holes, there will be the Amchar study that has even more tangents you can go down and really get micro specific to the needs and challenges that you may be facing, the goals that you have for your own health. So we'll have that link. The other two places I definitely want to see people going: Backyard Growers, Grow Moringa, Eat Moringa, the micro course, all online, super quick. The ambassador level stuff, if you really get into it, we've seen all across the world now, ambassadors are really leading the way in the future of agriculture, sustainable agriculture, regenerative agriculture, some more buzzwords for everybody. Moringa students of yours and collaborators are at the forefront of that. So we want to see more people getting into that program. So definitely education, if that's something you're into, check that out. In those, I have no say. So Mariko will do 2 hours of PowerPoints just talking about adaptogens or free radicals, and you can geek out with her. That'll be a lot of fun for you. I like this format of making it smaller, bite size, and relatable in this way. But there's a lot of really, really nutrient dense science, pun intended, that you can get into. A couple of the illnesses, the chronic aches and pains that we have as people, there's a lot that it covers, 300 plus, that it can have an impact on in varying degrees, in varying ways, adaptogen being a big reason that it's very malleable to the needs you may have. Mention some of them, because somebody listening right now going, oh, I like the culinary stuff, I like having more things, but I have a very specific thing. I have a bum knee, I have diabetes, I have hypertension, I have a certain thing that I need to understand how that might affect me with that challenge that I'm facing. So give us some of the high level ones for you that maybe you'd like to address and hopefully help some people with some of what they're going through.
Well, the ones that have have consistently from the beginning been where people have had the effects. And this is from farmers markets when I was there, and people. So it's diabetes, high blood pressure, liver issues, and inflammation. And inflammation is like ubiquitous to illness, right? Or they can trace
I mean,
almost
it's now
all.
number one in like almost every disease, cancer, all of them. Inflammation
Comes
is a
in.
foundational catalyst for that.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
And again, we're not giving medical advice here for everybody. Just know that this is some of what we're seeing. These are some of the impacts that we know that it can have, but we're not giving any medical advice. Okay, so those are some big ones that a lot of people are struggling with in the United States.
Yes.
Heart and kidney, I know, is another big one where I've talked a lot about bitter foods, the enzymatic reactions that creates have impacts on. I don't know. I'm going right here. I know where my liver is. It's right here.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's liver. Yeah, so because that's the that's the bitters, and for some reason, somebody might be able to answer this. Diabetes and high blood pressure seem to go together. People often have those together. Not always, but it just started to be this commonality that I saw over the 14 years, gathering my own anecdotal information. Right, it's not scientific, but I started to see that a lot. And then inflammation like fibromyalgia, people were like, wow, I never thought.
yes,
Right,
right.
so these kinds of conditions, I've seen benefits of all types of illnesses, and of course we can't say that it treats or cures anything. So that's why that chara, and you can go to NIH and PubMed and look up whatever illness you want to look up with moringa, and you'll find, most likely find something. And if you don't find it, somebody's gonna do it sometime soon. I've
Yeah,
just seen
right.
that happen. So, but yeah, and the way
Or
people,
request of them.
yeah,
If
so
you have some certain issue, something very rare, and find out. Ask the questions. Find somebody that's doing moringa study and say, "Hey, here's where I'm at." I think you're going to see a lot more of that as
yeah,
moringa gets on more and more and more lists of having positive net impacts on a lot of different ailments.
yeah,
And so I think you'll see it tested more and more because it continues to thrive under that kind of scrutiny
yeah,
in those clinical and scientific type studies. And
yeah. And so what people do is they take about a teaspoon. Now this is, everybody varies. So when you're starting, you always want to start slow, low and slow, small amount, slowly. Some people are very sensitive. Some people's systems are so fragile where they're starting from, they're not at zero yet, right? So pay attention to where you are able to start. And what you want to do is start with an amount, and to have that, like it could be a quarter teaspoon per day, or, and do that every day for a week. And notice how things change, if anything changes. If you're doing it for diabetes or high blood pressure, you have an easy way to monitor that. So at the end of the week, you can test that. Then the next week, go up to half a teaspoon per day and do that for a week, and then check it, and up to a teaspoon. Some people have gone up to multiple tablespoons per day, and they're like, okay, this is a good amount for me. Athletes, they need a lot of nutrition. We have Isaac, who does a lot of work in the soil biology with us, and his son is a triathlete. He can down one of those Mojo bars just like that, because he has to, and he loves it. He wants, I give those to him every time I see Isaac. I like, here's some. Take, he can just, because he has to have that nutrition for that kind of workout. So athletes can take a lot.
be our first sponsored athlete.
Yeah. So it's amazing. If you can, come to your right dosage, and that's what's going to happen, your own unique dose, and you stay at that. And it can be, after a time, you start to feel, wow, I'm good. I feel like taking less. You can start to take less.
You'll hit certain plateaus and
Yeah.
then kind of find new ways to incorporate it in different ways. And especially if you have a good foundation when a health issue like this coughing fit all of a sudden I just had. I'm gonna go take some moringa now. That's probably gonna help that somehow, some way. Who knows how?
Yeah.
You can find that you have that foundation, so it's easy for a little bit more or a different application of it to have an impact. All right, we're over time and I can't speak anymore. So let's let's wrap this this episode up.
Yeah.
Again,
And one more thing,
please.
because we do talk about eating all this nutrition, and some people, and especially now more and more, have reduced digestive ability. They have digestion issues and stuff. So we have come up with a product that bypasses that. The spagyric is a product that bypasses that, and that's a whole education on its own. But it's in an alcohol base, and you take it in drops, and it goes right into your bloodstream. So for
That
people,
one's intense.
yeah, it
when
is.
when I get any kind of sickness, I do a couple drops that on my tongue, and whew, it's like whiz bang.
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty quickly on that. Okay, we said so much more. We got to cut her off. She can keep going forever on this stuff, but get into this. Start. Grow moringa, eat moringa.
Yeah,
Let's
just
start there. And your nutrition and the health benefits will start to exponentially grow, and you'll find your way onto this path, and more things will start to click for you with your own health. So that's it. As always, check us out every Thursday for the full shows. Check us out on social media for the nice little soundbite clips to get you inspired. Comment, give us those hashtag Moringa Foods. Let us know. We're challenging the other superfood enthusiasts and lobbyists out there. Let us know what other superfoods are at that moringa level, and whoever is in charge of these lists of superfoods, hashtag moringa on the list. Let's go. That's it for this episode of Moringa for Life. Appreciate